Anyways, the takeaway point from this slide is that on these deep tunnels, generally the quality or quantity of the geological data can be less than it is on tunnels which are not that deep. So that leads us to our second poll question. Have you ever been involved in a high-cover TBM project?
And Sindra, while everyone is answering that, we have a question. What tunnel depth constitutes high cover, and can fault zones create similar effects without there being high cover?
That's two very good questions and two somewhat related questions. Because by purpose, we're not really defining what high cover is. We're looking at challenges caused by high cover. That's because a lot of these high stresses can be induced by geological processes. You can have situations or rock bursting even if you don't have too much overburden, the same with weakness zones. We put in the first slide that we're suggesting to look into it about 200 meters, but you can also encounter these problems with less overburden. Also, in regards to the fault zones, typically in regional fault zones or fault zones, there are rock stress related or rock stress concentrations in relation to the zone because of the high geological activity. Good. We have the polls back. It seems like about half of you have been involved in projects, so a good mix. So we're going to go through the major challenges we see in high cover tunneling. First, major faults. This is a picture I took when I was in India once. Weakness zones can be difficult and certainly can be encountered in both projects with high overburden and projects without, which are not very deep. However, when encountered in deep tunneling, there are some aspects to the fault zones which can amplify the problems. When tunneling at depths, you typically avoid weakness zones or low-quality rock caused by surface weathering. However, severe contact zones, regional fault zones, crushing zones, contact zones can be encountered, and these might or might not be in its terrain on top, as valleys or rivers or whatever. If these major fault zones are encountered, they can result in severe conditions as very low rock mass quality with a lot of low mass or low quality rock above you, which gives you a very challenging rock condition to support, especially if you run into it before you are able to pre-treat it. This can cause great struggles to support it and the potential running grounds. This is also in combination with high water pressures and high water ingress, it can be very challenging. Also, just as I mentioned during the last poll question and the last question is that the rock stress concentrations can certainly be seen in relation to faults. In deep tunnels, you also risk to have high pressure water ingress and large quantities of water. Also, in these deep tunnels, it can be difficult to understand the aquifer systems, so they can come, these water ingresses can come without you being aware of them and can cause great problems. Rock bursting. That's one of the most fascinating and most dangerous geological conditions that can be encountered. Very high rock stresses can be due to high overburden, basically just the weight of the rock above you, but it can also be induced by geological processes, tectonics or whatever. Rock bursting is caused by high stresses in the rock mass that exceeds the rock's capability to handle. This can result in explosive failure of the rock, similar to what you see when you do an axial compressive strength test. If you have a very hard rock, you do an axial compressive strength test, you will see that a lot of energy is released when the core fails and you have an explosive failure. same rule of thumb when it comes to rock bursting. Hard rock, high stresses means a lot of energy is needed to break it, which means you'll have a lot of energy released in the rock burst itself. At high covers and high rock strength, the rock burst can be very severe and cause damage to personnel and equipment. The same goes for squeezing ground. You have rock stress situation which exceeds the capability of the rock. However, the rock behaves somewhat differently than in rock bursting, and you get convergence in the tunnel. This is very typical for sediment or weak rock formations and sediment.